Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. Welcome to the show, your one and only host with the most, it's Gina.
How you doing, Adam the Tech?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. What's going on? The whole world's out there. That's so true. Hey, Gina. I'm going to get off of your screen because this is your show.
Hey, that's the last time you're going to see our good friend Adam the Tech. I'm Gina Bobina. I will be your host for tonight's episode of History Bluffs. Thank you so much. I wanted to tell you that we're going to do a show tonight where we take a topic, and the topic tonight, I'm going to reveal it now, is actually going to be the word steep. Make stories for you, and the stories will either be truthful or they will be a bluff. And so I'm going to bring the historians on, and I'll tell you more about how the game works after that. But first, let's introduce Chris Berry, coming all the way from downtown Orlando. Say hi, Chris.
Hello. Hi, everyone.
Well, Chris, I'm going to avoid making a comment about your hair because you're not even wearing it down. And for those of you who listen to our show often, he's been growing it out since COVID. And this is me not making a comment about that. But you look great. You look great. And do you, speaking of steep, three definitions. I have three panelists. I saw that steep can mean slope. What do you think constitutes making a hill steep versus not steep?
Well, for me, it is if you could see the top of the hill from standing at the bottom of it and you can identify like trees and other things at their face, that is not a steep hill. But if you can't and you could see that there's only like green stuff up above you, that is a steep hill.
That's awesome. And -1 because the correct answer was anything over 45 degrees of an angle. I'm just kidding. There are no points in this game, just for me. That's awesome. No, I would agree because we just were in Buffalo. Same kind of. It was. Boulder rather, and it was beautiful. So that was fantastic. And then I'm in Alan Forbes. Everybody, welcome him. Hello, Alan.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to see
What's
you.
Up? It's good to see you also.
Just history bluffing or buffing.
Your history, right? Oh, you're already announcing that you're bluffing tonight?
I'm one or the other. I could be either. Who knows?
You're playing with the audience tonight. Unique take.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Alan, do you ever drink tea which can be steeped? So can coffee, for that matter. Really, if you think about it.
True. I do occasionally drink tea, but mostly I drink coffee. I have a single cup automatic drip coffee maker that I pre-fill the night before, and then I use a Wi-Fi Google Mini to announce, "Hey, start my coffee." And then 5 minutes, I go downstairs, and it's a hot cup of coffee waiting for me.
Oh, and Chris provided the Maxwell House sound effects, as is apropos when you speak about coffee. So that's awesome. Thanks, Chris. Chris, you get your points back if you can do sound effects for our next.
All right.
That's going to be Darren. Darren, everybody say hi to Darren.
Hey, Gina.
Hi. Well, we talked about going uphill, but we didn't talk about going downhill. Have you ever been skiing down a slope or anything like that? Or have you ever gone downhill any other way?
I've gone downhill continuously since I turned 50.
Well, yeah, because your balance is up, right? Like that's what they say.
Yeah, the weight goes from the down to the bottom. Yeah.
Well, you do a lot of traveling. Have you ever been on like a big cool mountain or hillside or anything like that, skiing or climbing?
Yes, I've been skiing, and I am not good at it. That's why I don't do it anymore.
So you really do tumble. Sorry, I cut you off. What'd you say?
Slide, yeah. Sometimes you use the skis. Sometimes you just use the hill and your clothes.
Yeah. Gravity works no matter what, I think.
Gravity is a fundamental law of the universe.
-1 point also, no crashing into tree noises. That was a little disappointing.
Sorry, it's not Sonny Bono.
I know, there's no points in this game. That's why I'm just playing. So Chris is -2. You all are at 0. Hey guys, we're gonna actually start. So let me tell you the rules of the game. Adam, throw the rules card up if you don't mind, Adam.
You got it.
we're going to tell stories in 3 different rounds. The rounds will get progressively shorter. We're going to start at 75 seconds. The first round, they will tell you bits and pieces of their story. If they have a choice to tell you a true story, or they could be bluffing. If the true story is being told, it has to be factual. All of the facts must scan and must be verifiable. If they tell you a bluff, parts of their story might be factual, but most of it will be fictional. So that's part of how they bluff you. We love it if you want to look things up and play along in the comment section, except please don't reveal who, you're welcome to reveal who you think is the bluff, but please don't reveal any facts that you find online or that you, because we would just love it if we could just keep the bluff hidden until the very last round. So that's pretty much it. That's all we do for the show. So those are the only rules. So now it's just time to get started. And the way we start is we're going to go into what we call round 1. Round 1 starts with 75 seconds on the clock. And we're going to actually go right in this order. So we'll start with Chris. Chris, your first 75 seconds starts with the cannon boom now.
Okay, all right. My story is titled From Forward Progress to Forward Puke. And my story is inspired by Steve. It's about switchbacks. So I'm going to tell you a story involving danger, speed, and gravity. This tale begins in the Inca Empire, which thrived in ancient Peru in the Andes Mountains along the coast of South America. It also involves goats, sheep, and perhaps aliens. And finally, a gravity train and a roller coaster in Coney Island. A switchback, you see, is a type of trail or a path that takes you on a zigzag pattern up and down a steep terrain, such as a mountain, creating a longer route but a much safer way to hike or drive. Switchbacks work by replacing a single path of dangerously steep grade with several paths of a far lesser grade. Rather than climbing directly up a severe slope, switchbacks wind from one side of slope's face to the other and then back again, hence the term switch back. There is no evidence, however, that switchbacks inspired the running style of Hall of Fame running back Barry Sanders, who would often reverse field to find more open space to run. Ancient trailblazers did not always record their planning decisions, but we know numerous examples around the world of famous switchbacks, including the Incas, and I'll get to that in round number 2.
Oh, that is fascinating. And I was just in the Grand Canyon, and they did do the switchback thing because, as you know, that's a very steep hill. And I was too scared to I was too scared to climb it, so I scooched on my butt, but just only one switchback, and then I went back up. I was horribly high. Alan, what do you think about his story so far?
It's interesting. I'm a native Floridian, and I have very little experience with mountain driving, so I don't even know if these switchbacks even really exist.
Oh, well, that part I can tell you it does. And then they also have this great lane when you're driving where if you're going out of control, it's like it's a whole lane that you get to have extra brake space. Like, that's crazy to me.
Oh, that's fun.
Darren, what about you? What do you think about that story? Also a Floridian.
I guess I learned something new because I always thought switchback was some sort of sex thing with, bondage and leather.
It is, but it's a different show altogether. So that is history buffs, and I mean the word buff in the other literal sense. So they're very cute men who dress up in like they're in the 1800s or any period of time, and you can have sex with them and record it live. It's a really cool show. You should see it. Nope, nobody. Okay, we're moving on. My husband is like, "What are you talking about?" Hey, Alan, you were second before.
I was second before.
So I'm going to love to have you do your first round. No.
Okay.
You're second.
Okay.
Round 1. Yeah.
Okay.
75 seconds now.
All right. Well, mine is titled A Steep Road Ahead. That's right. I don't believe in these switchbacks, but I do believe in straight roads that just go up the hill. And what's the steepest road that goes up a hill? Well, that is in a place called Mackenzie, New Zealand. Yes, Mackenzie, New Zealand. And in fact, this road is named Mackenzie Street. It's a little bit under 500 meters, and it runs east from the valley of Lindsay Creek up the side of Signal Hill towards Opoho. rising 30 meters above sea level, and yada yada yada. But you don't need all this technical jargon. But what it is it is the steepest road in the world, not just the country, not just any country, but the world. And it's about what does it say, 19 degrees or 35%? I don't know all this technical jargon. I just know that it is steep, I tell you. And there's more to this story. They've had contests about how to quickly get up the hill and all sorts of stuff I'll get to in the next couple rounds. So enjoy.
Oh, wow. So this road goes to Opoho, you say? And
Yes,
that was
Opoho.
also one of the regulars on History Buffs. Hey, Chris, what do you think about that story right there?
Well, I was not sure I didn't catch the exact slope that he said the street had, but it sounded pretty severe. And the first thing that popped in my head was Lombard Street in San Francisco, which uses switchbacks. I just want to put that out there. So Mackenzie Street in New Zealand. Right now, I think that could be a viable story. Right now, I believe Alan is not bluffing, but telling the truth.
Ooh, so one vote for Alan telling the truth. That's awesome. How about you, Darren? What do you think?
Well, when I hear the name Mackenzie, I can think only of the iconic Mackenzie brothers, who are not from New Zealand. They're from Canada. Hey. If you remember their movie Strange Brew, take off to the Great White North, they said. They didn't say take off to New Zealand.
Take off that great steep hill.
Yeah, I don't think they made it that far south.
Fair.
If you go past the equator, is it still considered south to go to New Zealand?
Yes.
Thank you. I just wanted to
and
know. I think
anything towards the South Pole is still south.
Okay, good. I think that's how it's
flushes the other way.
That's the part that's confusing. I knew something happened. Okay. So that's our first round. Everybody has had we would love to ask if anybody in the studio audience has any comments or any questions or has a vote right now who they think is bluffing. Darren's pointing to himself. Alan got one vote from Chris.
Should I go?
Yeah, Darren, please.
Should I go with my first round or?
Oh, you didn't go with your first round?
No, we don't know if he's bluffing or not.
Well, that's a good point. We should probably hear that, unless you would like to reserve the right to not speak, and we can make our guess then. Well, I think you should. I think you should talk. I think that would be more fun for the audience.
I wrote stuff, so I think I'll go.
Okay, do it, and start right now.
Okay, so the title of my story is "You've Got to Be High," and it's the story of one of the most dangerous jobs in the world, the steeplejack. As long as mankind has built tall things, steeplejacks have risen to the occasion. Steeplejacks are the men, and yes, fellow women called steeplejills, who climb to the top of chimneys, towers, and church steeples to build them, repair them, and eventually tear them down. It was a job of such elevated status that in medieval times, it was even depicted on the famous Bayeux Tapestry, which was made in the 11th century to commemorate the Battle of Hastings. And it takes nerves to be a steeplejack. Up until the 80s, it was still common for steeplejacks to do their work with no safety equipment at all. So you're hundreds of feet in the air, no harness, no ropes, and no net. And one wrong step, and you'll join the hundreds of others who have paid the steepest price of all in the line of duty. And maybe it was that courage that was recognized by Queen Elizabeth when she knighted Fred Dibnah in 2004 for his work as a steeplejack.
Let me get this straight. This steeplejack did such a good job on the steeples that he got he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth. That's amazing.
That's right.
Is that accurate?
An MBE, Master of the British Empire.
Ah, very cool. That's really interesting. If it's true, Alan, what do you think about that? I'm not really sure I like the story though. I hope it's true.
How far are you going to get with someone else's steeple? I don't know. It seems like that'd be pretty obvious. You're trying to steal. Like, hey, what's that under your shirt? Is that a steeple? You better put that back.
Well, as you're probably aware, low jack won't work on something so tall.
Oh,
Yeah.
Hijack
Okay.
will.
I had given you 3 points, which I forgot to say for all of your puns. Risen to the occasion, elevated, the steepest price. That one took one. That was horrible. Chris, how about your thoughts on the story?
I'll give him props for the LoJack joke. However, he lost me at Steeple Jill's. I'm having a hard time. I'm having a hard time with that one. So that's all I have to say for now. I want to hear more.
I would assume that Steeple Jills came later. I would imagine it was predominantly a male male industry prior to
the Steeple Jill doesn't always come. We know that.
This is true. Save it for the other show. Great, that really does conclude round 1 for us, which means that we're about to go into round 2. This means that the rounds get shorter, but they only get shorter by 15 seconds. So I'm going to Adam put up the clock, and the first person speaking will be Alan. Let's hear the second part of your story. Go ahead and start when boom.
There, it boomed. All right, so I think I misread a statistic earlier. The Mackenzie Street actually has a gradient of, get this, 38 degrees. Yeah, 38 degrees, which is crazy. And they said, you can keep your, I'm not going to do a terrible New Zealand accent. They're like, you can keep your switchjacks because that's for pansies. Direct quote. No, it's not a direct quote, but still they're like, they're going to go straight up that hill and they don't care who knows. And they've got tourists that come to their street, the steepest street in the world. Now, locals have complained about car failure and exhaustion caused by the steep incline, and many examples of vehicles found in businesses due to the regulation that all parked cars have to have their wheels aimed off-road in the event of a parking brake failure. And so that's a thing that you will find occasionally damaged business fronts.
What? Will people park on the side of the mountain and then their car goes haywire and they crash into things?
Yeah, well, there are businesses on the side of the road going down this road.
Well, that's their dumb fault for putting their business there.
They got to put them somewhere.
Somebody has to serve the people of that hill.
Mm-hmm.
Darren.
Well, Gina, I've been to New Zealand and there really isn't that much to do. So the idea of the locals just saying, let's make a steep street and see what happens actually checks out with my experience of New Zealand. So I'm leaning towards truth on this one.
Did people take their sheep there? And I know, look at us, we're so stereotypical about it. I've never been, so I hear it's
probably do.
Chris, your thoughts, please.
I am actually now going in the opposite direction, like a switchback. I am going to say that Alan, now I'm steeply skeptical of Alan's story because it sounds incredibly similar to San Francisco with the rules about turned wheels when you're parking on the hill. And so it makes me wonder if Mackenzie, New Zealand is actually a sister city of San Francisco. And also, just not for nothing, but wasn't 38 Degrees a New Zealand boy band? I don't know.
Yes, it was back in the 90s. Hey, guys, that means Chris has changed his opinion about you, Alan. Now, this second round didn't do you well, at least as far as Chris is concerned. I do know that there was a 7% grade in on a hill going to the Grand Canyon, and there were some people whose car broke down on the side of the road, and that was only 7%. So who knows? It stands a little, but I don't know. We're gonna go to the next person in this round, and that's gonna be Darren. And Darren, you're gonna get less time on your clock this time, and your round will start with the boom.
Okay, so Fred Dibna was the son of Frank and Betsy Dibna, who both worked at the local bleach factory. So Fred was no stranger to shitty jobs. As a child, Fred would explore old cotton mills, and he became fascinated with the abandoned steam engines and chimneys, and it inspired him to build all sorts of things. Once, while he was exploring an abandoned mill pond, Fred and his friends built a canoe from old bicycle wheels and a canvas sheet from the back of a lorry. And then they got out and they built a diving suit from inner tubes and an empty tin of potato crisps. And so I guess just in the 1940s, there were bicycles laying around everywhere. And then in another incident, when somebody stole the keys to the school, Fred just took out a file and made a new set of keys on the spot. And so he was a bit of a mechanical genius. But the thing that really changed his life was he was with his dad and he saw some steeplejacks fell a chimney. Thank you.
They fell down a chimney?
They knocked it over.
They knocked it down.
You fell it like you fell a tree.
Oh, they knocked it over. I thought that like the steeple came over and open and we saw all the people falling. Okay, so
No.
hey Chris, what do you think about his story?
Oh, man. So was Fred Didna Fred MacGyver? I mean, he made a canoe out of bicycle parts? Come on. I'm having a hard time wrapping my head around that. No, I don't think so.
Well, he's having a hard time wrapping his head. I mean, I had a hard time wrapping my head around MacGyver every episode. So that man was a genius. Alan, what are your thoughts about Darren's story?
I feel like we were just hearing a completely different story. It's like we're talking about stealing steeples, but then wait a second, someone's going to just manufacture a diving suit and a canoe. And meanwhile, in another story, there's someone making bicycles too. I don't know what.
It's called establishing character.
Okay.
At least I hope, because if your round 3 doesn't connect at all, Darren, that's gonna suck. We did hear from the other two historians tonight. So actually, I'm sorry, we heard from Alan and Darren. Now, Chris, I don't want to leave you out of this round like I almost did Darren for last time. So go ahead and please tell your story at the boom.
Okay. So I mentioned the Incas, and the the ninth ruler of the Incas, Pachacuti Inca Yupanqui. He had his army use switchbacks to go over mountains and invade their neighbors. But the idea of switchback might not even originally been a human idea. Perhaps it was an alien gift, some conspiracy theorists will tell you, because Yupanqui, he had Machu Picchu built. However, the answer to that is because most experts agree that the idea simply came from people observing herds of goats and sheep unintentionally creating paths as they wound up and down these mountains because it was a safer way to walk. So humans realized that the goats and sheep had instinctively found a safer way to go. In the 19th century, fast forward to an American mining company in Pennsylvania that used gravity trains, and I'll explain that in a second, to get to where we're going to end up at Coney Island.
This is fascinating because I was a little bit confused. You introduced a lot of little things at the top of the story, and I was like, how's he going to put them all in? They are starting to add up, but I still don't know if it's true. Alan, what say you?
Well, I don't know. I think they should take a lesson from the New Zealanders and just go straight the direction you're trying to go.
just freaking take the 38 degrees and suck it up.
Yeah, suck it up, Buttercup.
Darren, what do you think about that?
Still waiting for the roller coaster part.
Oh, I get it because it's Steve. I get it. I don't know when his story is going to tie together. But in case those of you who are just listening, Darren is doing some amazing mime roller coaster work right now that you can't see, but that actually leads us to the end of round 2. Right now, we have some people not believing Alan's story, a few people not believing Chris's story, everybody not believing Darren's story. I'm intrigued, and I would take us now into the third round of the show. Take it away, Adam. Sorry, I introed that a little bit normal. I'm sorry if that's what you, Adam. So we are going to go into this round. Now we're going to go down to a shorter amount of time. So you have to finish up and wrap up your stories. And we are going to start with Darren because his seems like the most complicated.
Okay. So Fred watched as these steeplejacks, they removed the top of the chimney. And then at the bottom, they created a hole, propped it up with blocks of wood, and they lit a fire. And the fire burned the supports and it caused the chimney to collapse. But unfortunately, the chimney fell the wrong way and it landed onto a Greyhound track and a local cafe and a series of power lines. And So after watching this debacle, Fred realized that in post-war England, with all these factories closing down, that he could make a living knocking down chimneys. So, and he did. And so over 50 years, he knocked down 90 industrial chimneys, and most of them 100 feet tall or more. And most of them were recorded in a BBC documentary called Fred Dibnah Steeplejack.
Great.
Thank you.
Well, so he knocked down chimneys, which I guess is a form of a steeple. Is that what we're saying here?
Yeah, steeplejacks would do towers, steeples, anything tall.
Oh, all right. Well, I think that's an interesting story. I don't quite know that I understand why he got rid of chimneys. But maybe we could ask that at the end of the show. No, I'm just curious. Like more curiosity than anything. But Chris, what are your thoughts?
Well, I think
Chris,
I can
right now.
I think I could. What?
As if people are believing your story right now, chiming in on the comment board.
Got it. All right.
Thank you, Tom.
And I will say, you asked Darren a question about why was he knocking down chimneys, but because he was a non-smoker and he didn't like smoke. That's the only thing I have to ask.
Oh God! Wah, wah. Tomatoes. Alan.
Wait,
Alan,
we gotta, I want to see the tomato hit Chris. No, it's not going to happen.
There it is.
Okay.
Yes,
There it is. Good things come to those who wait.
There
All
is
right.
Whenever somebody makes the most awful pun in the world or joke, we throw tomatoes at them, as you're wont to do. Going back to Shakespeare's time. Alan, what do you think about Darren's story?
I remember there was a Mick Jagger, Emilio Estevez movie in the 90s called Free Jack, and Darren may have just taken that and separated it into Fred the Steeplejack, and that's how he got his story.
Alan, I saw that movie at the theater, and until now I had forgotten it. Thank you so much.
I thought it was
Now
Free
you
Jack
remember.
City. No?
What?
I thought it was Free Jack City. Is that something different? I don't know.
No, that's different. That's a very different movie.
That's
New
from
Jack.
Jefferson Starship.
New Jack City.
A New Jack City. Exactly.
Jefferson Starship. They were good when they were just Starship. I don't get it. They added the Jefferson. All right, so let's switch to. I think that was Darren telling his story. Alan, have you had a chance to go this round? No, right?
Not third round. No, not in the third.
Oh yeah, let's hear your story. We're going to hear
All
the
right.
end of your fabulous New Zealand story whenever the boom starts.
All right. All right. Well, the good folks of Mackenzie, they love the fact that they have the steepest street in the world, and they even hold marathons there to celebrate their steep street, and they have contests. They once had someone timed. They have bike races going up the hill, and they time how long it takes people to bicycle up their hill. And the current record for going up their hill actually is 22 minutes. So that is held by Dave Williams from Australia, and that's the name of that tune.
That's the name of that tune. Williams from Australia. That's the name of that tune. That's fantastic. I think 22 minutes. I think they should have used that instead of the steps in Rocky. Like that would have been a better workout, I think.
Yes.
Chris, your thoughts, please.
Well, it's interesting. Both you, Gina, and Darren, I believe, had some naughty innuendos earlier, and hearing Alan talk about, they have a marathon on this hill, they have an uphill bike race. It makes me think that the people in Mackenzie, New Zealand, are into S&M because they're self-masochistic. They like to beat themselves up for some reason.
That's true. Like it's like, especially if that last little section of the marathon was up the hill, like that would suck. It's like 26 miles, but that last however many miles, like that would stink. Darren, what do you think?
Well, New Zealand is part of the English Commonwealth, and if there's anything we know about Englishmen, is they will roll a cheese wheel down any slope. And so that was suspiciously absent in Alan's description, and I find that was suspicious.
That is called for a lion. I also, because of the Mackenzie name, I was thinking Scotland, and that they do a lot of cheese rolls there. So yeah, that could be the actual thing that susses out the bluff this week. So that's a very interesting point. But we don't know if he's bluffing or not, and we don't know what the last part of everybody's story is. But I want to make sure, did everybody get to go in this round? No. Chris, we still have to hear your story. That's the one I want to know. Chris, this is your round 3, and it starts right now.
Okay, so the Switchback Gravity Railroad, excuse me, in eastern Pennsylvania was built in 1827, and it moved coal down the hill. And during non-peak hours, they would offer rides to the public in these specially outfitted cars, and people found the hairpin turns fun, which led to a gentleman named Philip Hinkle. He inspired by the gravity trains, he invented the roller coaster called Gravity Pleasure in 1885 in Coney Island, Brooklyn, the first use of a power chain lift on a roller coaster, and also the first roller coaster that featured cars where people faced forward so they could actually finally see what they were throwing up on. So to sum up, goats and sheep found a safe way to climb hills, which led to ancient empires using the safer routes to traverse dangerous mountains to savagely kill their neighboring countries, which led to gravity trains, which led to forward-facing puke. You got to love progress.
The puke did come into it. Oh my god! That's great. I actually saw that roller coaster a few weeks ago while I was there. That's fantastic. A roller coaster that was facing forward where people could spin, and if I were in, like, they're strapped in, and it's like I didn't do it because holy patchouli, it was crazy. It was crazy. Oh, maybe it was a Ferris wheel. Well, both. They had a lot of stuff, and all of which I didn't go on. I believe Alan, but not sure of the other two. Thank you, Jude. I'm not sure who I believe, but what I do know is that we need Alan's take on that story, please.
Oh, wouldn't it be a boring roller coaster if it was just a switchback that just went slowly down? Like, that's it. That's the roller coaster. Get off. I don't know. This sounds a little sus. I don't know.
Like that one in Dino whatever land in Universal that like you almost go off the edge. And it just does that, and it makes.
Oh, what is that? The Velocicoaster? I don't know.
I don't know. It makes me sick because all I know. Darren, what do you think? Worry about. I'm so sorry. Yeah.
Pennsylvania is Amish country, and what are the Amish known for? Cheese. And again, there was a lack of cheese rolling in this story as well.
There was, but they might have gotten cheese on their hot dog at Nathan's and then thrown it up. So
that does track with the vomiting.
That does track, exactly. I'm going to give every contestant and the audience one last chance to pick who they think right now is. There are 2 people telling the truth, 1 bluffer. Who do you think is bluffing? And I'm going to start in the order from top to bottom. Darren, who do you think is bluffing, and why?
I think it's Alan.
Okay.
Just because I don't believe him.
Fair enough. I can be pretty shifty.
What?
I can be pretty
Chris,
shifty. So
I also believe it is Alan. I think Alan is bluffing. Excuse me. Again, he referenced a boy band from New Zealand, so he's got to be bluffing.
Did I?
38 degrees.
38 degrees. I too think Alan is bluffing, but I think that every week, so I don't know. Hey, Alan, is your chance to defend yourself or to say who you think is bluffing?
Darren, because I'm not going to reference all this steeplejack nonsense that he told us.
Oh, you're not going
to. I'm not going to look it up. I'm not going to bother finding out if these guys really built a diving suit out of old steeples. I guess I don't know.
And yet the BBC is sad now because you're not going to watch their documentary if it exists. Who knows? That's all. Everybody in the so far we have 1 vote that people agree Alan is bluffing. Somebody believes Chris's story. Somebody does believe Alan. So there's actually there's a dissension among the ranks in the comment section. We don't know who's the actual winner. Oh, Darren bluffing? That's the question we're all asking. So. Right now, we're going to turn it over to Adam the Tech because I don't even know who is bluffing. I think it's great that we're all guessing. My vote is really hard because I love all of these stories. I want them to be true because I want to go see that thing and I want to see steeple people and all the things. But let's go to Adam. Adam, tell us who the bluff is tonight for the final round, which is
And I alone know. Gina, I'm going to have you step off of our virtual stage if you could.
I'm going.
So I can line up the rest of these folks. Okay, we're going to put them in the could it be, we don't know, was the bluff Alan? Or tonight, with your crazy story about steeplejacking, it could have been Darren. Or with the crazy switchbacks, it could have been Chris. Well, I alone know. And I'm going to tell you. Tonight, the bluff, this whole time, it was Alan.
Hey! Look at that. Congratulations to Tom and Darren and Chris. And I think Gina also. I don't know. Did Gina say it was me?
I just didn't like the fact that there was a town called Mackenzie in New Zealand.
Yes.
It just bothered me.
It's because that is completely made up. There is no Mackenzie's New Zealand. I named it after Brett Mackenzie, the famous member of the Flight of the Conchords and writer of great Muppet songs.
Okay. There are other Mackenzies.
Mackenzie's, not the Canadian ones even. Like
Not the Canadian Mackenzies, but I did think of them, of course.
Well, Alan,
wanna-
you did a
I wanna
bluff.
point out,
the steepest road in the world is in New Zealand. That much is true. It's just there's no such thing as
How many
Mackenzie.
steeps? Why don't they
I'm
call
sorry?
them steeples? How many degrees is it? Do you know?
Not quite 39. I saw 35. And it's Baldwin Street
really?
in Dunedin. Yeah. And they don't
Wow.
hold marathons, but they did have a contest of having someone with a unicycle went up there, and they showed that. And someone actually took a pogo stick and went up their steep street. So that's interesting. That's true. Yeah.
With the pogo strip and went up 38 degrees, like to the top of the hill. That's hilarious.
Yeah. Isn't that
How
crazy?
That is crazy. This is really fascinating. I'm really so glad that Darren and Chris's stories are true, because they were full of so many cool things and things I would not think to look up. So thanks for sharing all of your stories tonight. This was such a fun episode of History Bluffs. Thank you to Ab, your behind the scenes. We love what you do for us. What? And we will see you next week. Oh, if you want to, type in the comments and give us a word. That can be our topic for next week. We'd love a word. And thank you, everybody. Good night from History Bluffs. We're glad to have you. Hope you like being had.
Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We'll be back again next week. Be sure to